Hey, so I'm here with legendary artist Todd McFarlane. What was your creative push behind making Venom and making him look so liquidy?
It's interesting. When I got on Amazing Spider-Man way back when, I came into the office and I go, oh, it'd be cool to draw Spider-Man, right? So let's just sort of look at sort of how we came to the origin of Venom, and it's not as intellectual as you might think it is. That I walk into the office, I go, I want to do Spider-Man. Oh my God, it'd be cool. I get to draw Spider-Man. I was doing Hulk at that point. My career was starting to build. But Spider-Man was wearing this black costume. And it had come over from this miniseries called Secret Wars, I think it was. And there was this little alien costume that was on him. So that was already there. And it was on Peter Parker. And to me, Peter Parker isn't a guy dressed in black. Peter Parker's a guy dressed in red and blue. So I sat with the editor and he said, hey, Todd, it'd be cool if you came on and drew the book. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'd like to draw Spider-Man. It'd be fun. But not in a black costume. Like, to me, as a geek, as a guy who grew up in the 60s and early 70s, I'm going, he's red and blue, not black. So I go, I'll make you a deal. Get rid of that black costume. I come on, I'll draw Spider-Man. He goes, well, some people like the costume, and the editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter, that had upstairs, had something to do with that Secret Wars. And I go, okay, I'm not saying kill, I'm just saying just move it, right? And so, let's just move the black costume onto another character. We'll just create another character. The black costume will exist. We'll just create a new character. And then I get to draw my Spider-Man red and blue. So I just went away, and because I knew it was this sort of little moving, alive costume, I go, well, it's an alien, so it must be a monster. I'm going to create a monster. So that's why he was big, and he had claws, and he had teeth, and he had these big eyes on him, and he was nasty, and he was hunched over like a gorilla. I mean, he wasn't a human in any sense to me, other than he had 2 arms and 2 legs. And then David McFarlane, the writer on the Spider-Man book at that point, said, oh, I'm going to make him Eddie Brock, this journalist. And I went, what? Like, David, I created this giant hulking monster. If I had known it was going to be a human, I probably would have designed it slightly different, right? So I go, you're just going to have to figure out, we're going to have to figure out how to just cram the human in this big body. So it was this play on the Hulk a little bit, just Bruce Banner turns, to me it gets swallowed up. Okay, no big deal. And then to me, you'd have this physicality of this gnarly, nasty, big, intimidating character villain called Venom. It was the name that we came up with. And that was it, so that Spider-Man then would not be able to just beat him with just his fist, because it was too big, right? Mm-hmm. Be like you and me trying to fight an elephant. Yeah. We can slug it all day long, we're never beating it. So now, how do we take down the elephant? We're going to have to do something else, set traps, tire it out, starve it, something else is going to happen, because it's not going to be you and I just knocking and pushing it over. And to me, that was all I was trying to play with artistically. And then I turned some of that over to David McFarlane and go, okay, now Peter Parker's going to have to get smart. And now you come up with the stories on how smart he is, figuring out how he can beat this giant beast, and that became Venom. That at that point we didn't know was going to be this thing that we're now standing here 30 years later, and you got a movie, and everybody sort of got him, and he's been in the Marvel universe and touched almost every single character now, and everybody's been venomized at least once. We didn't know. Really, the origin is I wanted to draw a blue and red Spider-Man, get rid of that black thing, right?
And it's his own movie. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that it's not necessarily pegged to Spider-Man. It's Venom has his own thing. Yeah. What do you think it is about the Eddie Brock and the symbiote story that kind of like that pulls people in, that they want Venom stories, not just Spider-Man fighting Venom stories?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think if you go and talk to some of the writers that have been along the line and writers, they're going to be way smarter and give you, bigger words with more syllables than I am, because I'm a visual guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the appeal of Venom for some people, at least it was for me in my design, is just that he's big, he's powerful, he can destroy things, he's nasty, he's gnarly, and he makes no apologies for any of the above. And there's something about those characters that we like, not only from the villain side of it, because remember, he was introduced as a villain, and to me, your hero's only as good as the quality of your villains. But even characters, I think, like Wolverine,
Mm-hmm.
Punisher, to a lesser degree Daredevil, but for sure Wolverine. I think Wolverine has arguably been by far the most popular X-Men because of that same attitude, that it's just like, if work's got to get done and we got to get dirty doing it, then let's just do it and stop it and stop playing nice, kids. They're here to kill us, and so we got to kill them. Like, am I missing something?
Yeah,
right?
so let's drop the pretense kind of guys.
Yeah, come on. And so because I think in a weird way that simplification is closer to what you and I would come up with, because we're not smart enough to figure out the different trappings. We would just go, the bull's coming at us, get ready for the bull, right? I mean, and as a matter of fact, if I got a sword, then I maybe I can be a bullfighter, I got a chance now. So I think that was it. I think the component of it was he just was physically imposing compared to Spider-Man, and you had these two dramatic characters that could play off each other, and he became then a big arch villain for him, that then they started to then spread out to things like Carnage and stuff like that, and then try the angle of the anti-hero, and people are just going, he's just cool to look at. I mean, at some point, whatever's up on screen too has to physically look interesting.
And a bit of it, I guess, is the unexpected. He's this bad guy. He looks like this bad guy. We know him as this bad guy. So for him to be made sympathetic is kind of more interesting storytelling, because it's easy to sympathize with Peter Parker because you're supposed to, because he's the nerd. He's all of us, got beat up or whatever. But Venom is like the guy that can beat everyone up. So to make him sympathetic is kind of
I think it's to go that route is a harder route, because again, the Superman, Batmans of the world, they were born good, they were always good, they're supposed to be good. The villains are the villains, and then trying to do a hybrid, it is to me fraught with more danger, because if you make a villain into an anti-hero and you make him too nice, then they go, he's not nearly as nasty. And if you take a hero and try to make him an anti-hero and he gets too nasty, then you go, he's not likable, right? So there's this razor edge, I think, when you're doing all this creative stuff of how do you maneuver this? And so it'd be interesting to see what the response is to the movie, once it sort of plays globally and everybody's input is in beyond, just the critics, that the fan base and moviegoers as a whole get to have their input to see whether Sony struck the right chord with what the story is that they were telling out there. And again, to your point, if Venom's going to be a strong character, he has to be able to stand without Spider-Man. I mean, there's no character that can be so strong that if you take one character away from them, they fall, right?
Yeah.
Of course, Batman can stand without Robin, Commissioner Gordon, and the Joker, and the Penguin. You take all those characters away and say, Todd, you can't have them. Here's Batman. I'll still do a cool Batman story and or movie for you, because Batman is strong enough on his own, right? We're about to see whether Joker can stand on his own.
Yeah.
I think he can.